everybody, and welcome out to another episode of Death Battle Cast, the final one for 2024. We're squeezing it in. If you're watching
mathematically,
this
yeah,
yeah.
It'd be impossible.
If you're watching the VOD, then it's probably the new year. Hey, happy New Year, everybody. Ben's out of town on vacation for the holidays. I'm sick and Liam's sick, but
we're
That
healthy.
damned, we're doing this anyway because we wanted to talk about a matchup that I'm very excited about, the one that I was rooting for in the Tournament of Champions. I didn't know.
No, I don't have the asset. We haven't done that in years.
Yeah, but if I call for it, you gotta have it ready, Sam.
You gotta
give
jump.
me a heads up.
Yeah, no. So I'm excited about this matchup, but not quite as excited as our friend and special guest for today, Tyler, the Imaginary Axis. What's up, man?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing great, other than being sick. But we're we're getting through it. But yeah, very happy to have you back. You came on, and you were a fan favorite of guests we've had on the show.
Thanks, everybody.
And there's been, by popular request, you to come back on specifically to debate Liam, which we're making happen today. So if you don't know, hey, I'm Chad. I play Boomstick in the show. That's Sam. There you go. That's Sam. And he's running the board and has written and done stuff for the show. Liam, of course, mind like a steel trap, knows everything about every character ever on demand. That's him.
As will be proven today.
Yes. And that's Tyler, the Imaginary Axis, who is like my secret ringer to bring in against Liam.
You can find a link to Tyler's channel in the description if you've never been there. Go check it out.
That's right, because today we're going to be talking about Korosensei from Assassination Classroom versus Monokuma from Danganronpa. I'm very curious. We talked a little bit about Monokuma recently in the Junko the podcast we had, but like I love Assassination Classroom. I watched it way back when I was doing podcasts with Funimation, and so I'm very much in camp Korosensei until Liam, maybe you can change my mind, because Liam's representing Monokuma and Tyler here is representing Korosensei. I see a lot of people in the chat saying Happy New Year and all that stuff, so hello, welcome everybody. But before we get into it, we're about to, but I've got good news because we've got sponsors, and the first one is OpenPhone. Listen, running a small business means you wear a lot of hats. We know exactly how that feels for sure. Because, hey, we're a newly independent group ourselves. So we're excited that OpenPhone has offered to sponsor this week's episode. OpenPhone is a business phone system that helps you separate your personal life from your growing business. No matter how small or large, it'll help you keep your personal phone out of your work calls. For just $15 a month, OpenPhone gives you complete transparency and visibility into everything happening with your business phone number. It works through an app or on your phone or computer and integrates with HubSpot and hundreds of other systems. These ongoing generated call transcripts and summaries, which is something I know I could use because the amount of times I'm like, oh, shoot, I should have taken notes on that. So you'll have a summary of your phone call with action items as soon as you hang up. And if you miss a call, automated messages are sent directly to your customer, meaning you'll never miss an opportunity to engage with them. It's affordable and easy to use, whether you're a one-person operation and need help managing calls automatically, or have a large team and need better tools for efficient collaboration. OpenPhone has what you need. If you need any more convincing, OpenPhone has won multiple awards by G2 for software reviews and is trusted by over 50,000 businesses. Right now, OpenPhone is offering 20% off your first 6 months when you go to openphone.com/DBC. That's OPENPHONE.com/DBC for 20% off 6 months. Openphone.com/DBC. And if you have existing numbers with another service, OpenPhone will port them over at no extra charge. Thank you, OpenPhone. All right. Let's get into the debate. Who wants to go first? Liam or Tyler?
Tyler. I want Tyler to go first.
Me go first.
On the spot.
I can go first. I can do whatever you guys want.
He's a guest. He go ahead. Go first, Liam. Go first.
Fine.
All right. Gelatin Man, thank you for gifting out the 5 memberships. Appreciate you, man.
I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge fan of dang ass Ron Paul. I know everything there is to know about Danganronpa. I am an encyclopedic knowledge of Danganronpa. Just kidding. I've never played any of the games and I'm learning on the fly. But from what I've gathered, Monokuma, which is Japanese for one Kuma, is an insanely deadly opponent. He is a robot controlled by the AI of the dead Junko Enoshima, who is one of the smartest characters in the Danganronpa series. He has essentially an army of robots at his command, including a giant fucking mech, and tons of weird, esoteric abilities that he's going to be able to pull out against Korosensei. The fact that he is a bodiless AI that inhabits these robot bodies makes him extremely difficult to kill, and he's just insanely powerful. I mean, when I looked at Danganronpa, I think I watched the anime to start off, which I heard was not the right move. I didn't even know it was a game for like several years. When I was like, these are just high schoolers. What the fuck? How is Monokuma? No, these high schoolers are insane. These high schoolers are fucking crazy. The scaling, we're gonna get to like the most Liam feat in all of Death Battle coming up in this fucking cast. So just hold your ass. Yeah, this is fantastic. Okay. I saw this. I went, we're doing this. Yeah, you know. Monokuma wins because I said so.
There you go.
Great. There it is. Well, thanks for coming on, Tyler. Sorry for the waste of time.
No, that's wrong. So
All right.
It might surprise some of you to hear this, but I am a Hope's Peak alumni myself. Huge fan of both series. And that's why it gives me real pleasure to say, today we get to execute Monokuma. Korosensei is the greatest assassin to ever live in his universe. He's been killing since he was a child, and he's taken out literally thousands of individual targets one by one, including the heads of global superpowers like the United States. Don't worry, he's chilled out a bit lately. But not before being turned into a living superweapon. Korosensei's alien-like biology makes him nearly unkillable. He can regenerate, shapeshift, spawn as many tentacles as he likes, fire beams of weaponized antimatter, spit acid, sonic scream, generate his own electricity, spawn a multi-purpose mucus capable of jamming weapons, blocking bullets, healing injuries, and a dozen other things. He's immune to most of Monokuma's arsenal, by the way. And there are like a dozen other abilities that I don't have time to talk about. Korosensei has the speed, the wit, the firepower, and the bizarre to shut Monokuma down for good, and I can prove it. And when we're done with, he even has a few instant win moves hidden under his uniform, by the way. When we're done with today's lesson, Monokuma and any masterminds controlling him are going to be in total despair.
Okay. All right.
Nice. That's a line from Danganronpa. I caught that reference.
So pulling back the curtain a little bit, Tyler, you got very passionate about this matchup, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm a big fan of both series. I have consumed pretty much all material associated with both of them. And I was speaking with one of the researchers for the matchup, and talking with them sort of convinced me it was worth looking into. So I did do some research on it, and I think I really got into it. Yeah, I'm not usually big on like power scaling or whatever you call it. Like I do analyze characters' powers, but I don't usually compare them across fictions like this. It was a fun exercise.
Yeah, that's our job. Don't be taking our job. No, you really got into this and apparently wrote a pretty substantial document on this matchup, and then you were like, "Well, if you guys ever do it, like, I'd be down." So, we'll see. I'm excited to see how this cast goes, and see what we learn, because that's my thing is I never played Danganronpa, but I love Assassination Classroom, and I've always wanted to bring Korosensei into a death battle because I know how ridiculously overpowered this character is. So very, very interested to see how these two match up. Super Monye, thank you for gifting out 5 memberships. And the Gremlin with the super chat. Those powers are cool, but his name isn't something like Bear One, so he loses, in my opinion. Well, hey, if you don't know Korosensei, get ready, because you're gonna learn a lot. It was tentacles all along. All right.
Korosensei means like the unkillable one, right? The unkillable teacher or something like that.
It basically just means unkillable.
Unkillable, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, the moon partially explodes, and Korosensei takes credit for it and is like, "Hey, I did that, and I'm gonna blow up the Earth, but I'll give you a chance and let me teach a classroom of kids for a year, and they can try and kill me as much as they want or whatever."
It's a weird setup for sure.
It sure is. And then you find out a lot about Korosensei. And that's the thing, is like he really is like unkillable. Like, since he's been turned into this form. Like they have to they literally design weaponry that is anti-Korosensei weaponry. That's the only thing that can hurt him supposedly, but he still like deals with it. Like he has anti-Korosensei weaponry mucus, like or saliva, right?
Yeah.
So it's it's like
fucking slow your roll, Chad. All right, he doesn't need the extra help, motherfucker.
All right, I'm sorry. All right, go ahead. Go ahead.
Fucking give you an anti-Chad fucking.
Liam, I think a big part of this question is going to be, what's the setup precisely? Like, what version of Monokuma do you plan on using for the fight?
Jesus, all of them. The Monokuma controlled by the Junko AI. I think we can. I think actually a way to distinguish it from if we ever did Junko versus Springtrap is to have this be like post Junko is dead. So she's not around. It's just her AI controlling Monokuma, and then with the army of like lesser Monokumas, and then like Shirokuma and Korokuma and
Monokuma.
The Big Bang Monokuma.
Monokuma, Shirokuma, and Kurokuma don't exist simultaneously.
That's okay. I say that they do.
Shirokuma is a Monokuma unit with Junko's AI in it. It's just half of him is painted white.
Mm-hmm.
Like both halves. Like he looks like a fully white bear. He's just a regular Monokuma unit though.
Yeah, he's it's like a pacifist sort of thing, right? Like supposedly a pacifist or something.
Floating shot of
I mean,
the
like,
main unit
he's a
is
liar.
actually the strongest one.
Yeah, he is a liar. That is true. It is Danganronpa.
Okay, so for example, like V3 Monokuma, or are we talking Ultra Despair Girls, like
I don't
Shirokuma or Kurokuma? Okay.
What do you recommend, Tyler? What do you think
for Death Battle? We usually just
look at all of it.
Yeah.
We look at all of it.
The thing is, each Monokuma operates slightly differently from the others, and not just in a superficial manner. So, for example, in Danganronpa V3, Monokuma is an autonomous AI, which is useful. But in order to create backup copies of himself, the mastermind needs to get Mother Kuma, this sort of like a central unit in the center of the school, to make a new version. Meanwhile, in the original Danganronpa, Trigger Happy Havoc, Junko could theoretically control multiple Monokuma robots at once. According to Danganronpa If, as many as like 100 at a time if she needed to. Then in Ultra Despair Girls, there's really only 2 Monokuma units, and they don't have any way of like backing themselves up. If they're destroyed, they're destroyed. But they are working with like more Monokuma bots, like lesser inferior versions.
But theoretically, any Monokuma bot is like physically capable of what another one would be capable of, right?
All the okay, so there's certain equipment that the V3 Monokuma has that the other ones don't.
Okay.
And and I don't think either the V3 Monokuma or the Trigger Happy Havoc Monokuma could reasonably be given access to the Toa City variant Monokumas. And it's also probably oh yeah, and there are minor differences. So, like for example, the Trigger Happy Havoc Monokuma isn't autonomous; it's controlled by a mastermind. If you take out the mastermind, then the Monokuma deactivates. Like there are fine distinctions between them.
Yeah, across
but I think for the
V3s
sake
though,
of argument,
like if one's able to lift 100 pounds, like just then another V3, like just that kind of like they are essentially the same machine with. Yes, different like AI or things like this, but their physical, the way they're built is, as long as they're the same version, is very similar.
You could probably roughly scale them to each other,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. So how first of all, how is this matchup going down? How is this beginning? Why fight? What do we think would be
like the exact opposite?
We really never actually discussed that on cast. Like, why are they motivated to kill each other?
That's what I want to know. Like Tyler, since you've looked into this a lot, you know about what would be the best? What would kick this off?
Like, they're like the exact opposite in intention from one another. Korosensei is essentially a good guy who wants to help students. Monokuma is a lunatic who wants to murder students. So like.
Oh, perfect.
Very easy for them.
Monokuma is like Monokuma is like if the school shooter was like the teacher. Like that's literally he like sets up a
Yeah, they both got booked to sub a class, at the same time.
Yeah.
And there we are. They both show up, and then now we also have kids involved for while the battle's happening.
Korosensei is trying to defend the kids. Monokuma wants to kill the kids.
Yeah, I suppose it could go either way. Either Monokuma like invades Korosensei's school. Sorry, the name's escaping me at the moment. I don't know why.
It's okay.
And tries to like host a killing game, or Korosensei invades Hope's Peak and tries to like free all the students. One or the other, I guess.
No, that's great. I love that. Also, thank you, Crossover, for gifting out a membership. If you guys got gifted a championship, go check out all this stuff, and you can now say hi in the chat. Okay, so they're now fighting in a classroom full of children, which is hilarious to me. In how this fight would go.
Good.
So, all right, let's go. So let's start. Yeah.
There's just a lot to cover. Sorry, I'm a little bit frozen on like where to begin.
Yeah, I mean
no
it's
problem.
a big
Yeah, so,
one
like,
for sure. There's
well,
a lot of
What are his powers?
Let's talk about speed. Or yeah, why don't you talk a little bit about like I mean, Korosensei can fly and like all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, I think the main issue that Monokuma is going to deal with is I just think that Korosensei's all around most of his stats are better than Monokuma's, and that's including stuff from like Ultra Despair Girls. I think you can get Monokuma pretty high if you try to like include the right stuff, but the same can be done for Korosensei. By taking some of his more obscure feats, he can get to some pretty absurd levels as well.
Yeah, so like let's talk about speed, for example. So like the manga and everything, they want it, they're like Mach 20, Mach 20, Mach 20. They really want you to know that Korosensei is Mach 20. But then you see him do like light speed shit.
Yeah,
so,
no,
like,
so he's consistently stated to be Mach 20, and I think that's probably how I would prefer him be analyzed. But there are arguments that you could make for him being a lot faster, and the same can kind of be done for Monokuma, honestly. Like both series operate on this like sort of sliding scale of realism. Like Danganronpa mainly revolves around murdering a bunch of high school students in fairly mundane ways, and so people die all the time to relatively small stuff. Leon, the first execution, is explicitly killed by like less than 10 kilograms of force, and like later students are surviving a lot crazier stuff in like the anime, like different forms of medium, like in the Killer manga or in the Danganronpa 3 anime. Feats can get kind of absurd, but they're also fairly mundane in the standard games. And the same sort of happens with Korosensei. He's usually Mach 20, but if we just decide, well, that's a statement like anything else, like we have statements of Superman saying he can't reach light speed, that's clearly not true. So like we could we can pull some stuff out that makes him well beyond light speed if necessary.
yeah.
Can I bring up one of those feats from the children? I want to bring up one of the feats from the children.
Yeah, one of
the
ridiculous children. Yeah,
I'm just gonna drop this one now.
Okay.
Sam, could you bring up Monokuma 1, please? It's the picture of the forest.
Let me put you here.
Yeah.
Monokuma 1, this one. Yeah.
So this is what one of the students did to a forest. Essentially pulverized, perhaps vaporized, a humongous chunk of forest. If it was pulverized, I think that comes out to about. The count that I saw was about, 78 kilotons of TNT. And if it was vaporized, if that's not dust, if that's vapor, then it's about 9.3 megatons of TNT. This is what a student did, but I didn't tell you how he did it. Because he did it was he went to the bathroom and took a fat fucking dump. And that's the hole that he created. That is the view from the hole that he created in the bathroom from his mega, literally like nuclear shit.
How is there an explanation for it that makes any sense though? Like, obviously this must be like a comedic relief moment in the show.
Simple kinetic energy. I mean, you know,
it's definitely that.
No. Liam, don't.
It's definitely that some of the more absurd feats in Danganronpa, they can get kind of ridiculous the more cartoony the series gets. I think I do. So I would call that that's probably close to the highest I would imagine Monokuma. Like I've seen attempts to scale him to other characters and devices that I don't think really work. Like they really go against the narrative. But that's probably I think that would be reasonable if you wanted to give him like he should at least be able to match Nekomaru, the guy who did that.
Yeah, he doesn't directly tank a turd from Nekomaru, but he does. I mean, he would probably scale to his butt cheeks at least. It's like the durability of his butt cheeks. Yeah,
Ben, if you're watching, I'm sorry. I'm trying.
So Korosensei physically doesn't actually contend a lot because he outclasses almost everybody in his narrative by like a ton. Like he doesn't want to hurt the students. He doesn't want to hurt the people trying to kill him most of the time because they really don't stand a chance anyway. The only person that he ever really goes all out against is the villain who appears in like one of the very last episodes. This creates a bit of an odd scenario. His most powerful attack is definitely something that I've dubbed the antimatter energy discharge. It's this thing where he sort of compresses his tentacles and he somehow shoots a big beam of energy. And I had a real hard time with this one because I couldn't figure out how powerful it was. This energy attack never encounters any real obstacles in the entire anime. It just blows away everything every time that it comes up. Actually, could you maybe bring that up? It's Koro 5.
Koro 5.
Yeah.
Bingo.
So yeah, this kind of stuff happens all the time. Also, show us Koro 6. It can vary. The size can vary depending on how much energy he wants to let out. And like I said, it's very hard to judge. At first, you're like, well, maybe I can base it on area of effect, but that's never really a useful method in measuring stuff because area of effect tends to be unreliable in visual storytelling.
Dragon Ball is like the perfect example because it's like they're just island level if you go area of effect.
Yeah, and the area of effect for this attack right here is actually 3 times less than the established durability of the thing he destroys with this attack. So I was like, that doesn't make any sense. But yeah, so I did eventually find a mechanical way of figuring out how these energy attacks work, though. So Korosensei, Korosensei is he explains that these antimatter energy discharges are a weaponized offshoot of his absolute defense form. If you could bring up number 7. Oh wait, I'm sorry, number 8. My bad.
Speakers.
Yeah, this is the absolute defense form. It's a form that Korosensei can take when he needs to shield himself from any sort of serious danger. It's a risky maneuver, and he doesn't like to take it often. But here, you'll see the way it works is explained here. I have a note I wrote on it, so let me read off my analysis of the absolute defense form.
All right.
Yeah. When Korosensei uses his antimatter energy discharge for the first time, he describes it as an offshoot of his absolute defense form and explains that both powers operate on the same principle. The absolute defense form is a technique wherein Korosensei shrinks his head to roughly the size, as small as he can, and loses the rest of his form, manifesting a tight shield of compressed, high-density crystallized energy in its stead. The energy dissipates after approximately 24 hours, causing his body to expand again, reabsorb the energy, and return to its original shape. If you could now bring up the previous one. This will give you like a better look of it. That's what it looks roughly. There were no good shots in that earlier one, but yeah. So this is the form that he's taking now. So what we can derive from this is that shell that he's formed around him was made by the energy inside of his body, and then once it dissipates, he reabsorbs it into his body, and some of you might see where I'm going with this. We can determine the amount of energy is in this shell with a very famous formula, E equals MC squared.
I think I know that one.
You have a whiteboard prop.
I love E equals MC squared. Cal.
Yes, okay.
Love
this
being able
is
to break it out.
this is matter energy this is matter energy conversion. And we know this because one of the major elements in matter-energy conversion is antimatter. Antimatter is, there are only like a couple ways to convert matter to energy. Antimatter is absolutely essential to one of them. Korosensei's entire power set is based on antimatter. If you could bring up number 9. Koro 9. The substance inside this magnetic bottle is antimatter. Just 0.1 of a gram is enough to unleash energy equivalent to a nuclear explosion. This is explicitly describing matter-energy conversion. There's no other way to interpret that. They're talking about how theoretically, if we could create antimatter cheaper, then we could have a limitless source of energy. But it's very hard to create antimatter, and typically the amount of energy it takes to make it is not worth the amount of energy that it creates, etc., etc. Korosensei was turned into his form through experiments that were seeking to create antimatter with the human body by using the cell cycle. Stuff that doesn't really make a lot of sense. That's pretty sci-fi. But if it did work, then theoretically, Korosensei would be producing antimatter at a fraction of the cost that it would normally take. It was supposed to be like a way of easily producing energy by like experimenting on animals and stuff.
Yeah, they were like, if we could get antimatter cows, like a cow could power a civilization or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
Real layman question here, really quick. Why is Godzilla a scientist? Is this just like a throwaway joke?
Just for fun.
Okay.
Anyway,
sorry. I mean, Assassination Classroom. I can see if you haven't seen it, you're like, why is he there? Yeah. No.
By using matter-energy conversion, we can calculate the total, the highest possible energy yield of one of Korosensei's antimatter discharges, which is 48.72 megatons of force, roughly. That energy is on hand, available to him at all times in his body, based on these calculations. The energy attacks that he shoots off are not probably that potent, but they are smaller versions of that. He could theoretically discharge about this much before he just had nothing left, like he just fell over and collapsed. Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot of energy. It is. It's on par with some of the most powerful nuclear weapons. Every time that Korosensei fires an antimatter energy discharge, he's firing a small nuclear weapon at you.
Cool.
His body is his body made of antimatter?
It's a little unclear. There's like, yes, he has parts of his body are, at least parts of his body, but it's unclear if it all is. There's some stuff to suggest maybe, and there's some stuff to suggest well maybe not. I could get into it, but it would take a minute.
Characters can touch him. He isn't like
yes.
And this is more to clarify for people. Like he can walk around like through air molecules, and the air molecules won't hit him. Nuclear explosions, like just randomly.
By the way, this also lines up with Koro 11 if you have it.
Yep.
Yeah. By the way, his absolute defense form is so sturdy, not even a nuclear bomb could scratch it. So these things all line up: the mechanics of the form, the calculations, what it's capable of doing when it's acting defensively. He can weaponize an absurd amount of energy if necessary, and we honestly never see it really challenged in the narrative. So up until this point, every source that I've checked has basically just been like, we don't know how powerful the energy attacks are, and this is my statement. They're probably about 50 megatons or less.
Can he move while he's in this form? Out of curiosity?
No. Not really. No, not in any useful way.
No, he just chills for like 24 hours.
Like he mentions that he can sort of selectively release parts of the energy shell surrounding him and like create a big explosion, but he never does it. He just says he can. So
gonna catch what's the super chats real quick. This is way back to the forest feat. Tony Sonic says, doesn't that feat take place in a digital world? Also, there was another student that took laxatives but didn't obliterate a forest. And then Adlit also says that was a VR simulation, so I think they're just trying to piss you off, Liam.
By the way, that amount of energy I just mentioned could not only destroy Monokuma with a single shot, it could destroy him 641 times over. So, Good luck with that.
I think.
All right, and Kinjrex, thanks for gifting out 10 memberships. Appreciate you, man.
Because plenty of Monokumas do get destroyed, right?
Sure. Like, I mean, it depends what you mean. Like, the primary Monokuma units, like the ones from, like, Trigger Happy Havoc, I think, like, 2 or 3 of them get destroyed. In, like, Ultra Despair Girls, tons of them are getting destroyed, but the vast majority of them are automaton Monokumas, which are much cheaper, weaker models.
Yeah, as far as the, like, full-fat models, like, what is it, like, that has killed them in the past?
They're usually crushed to death. One was crushed under a hydraulic press.
Okay.
One was crushed by a big boulder. A few of them have exploded. Like they have internal bombs, which one once blew up like an underground concrete barrier. I calculated that at it wasn't very impressive, honestly. It was like at best like 2 tons of TNT or something.
Yeah.
Also, the chat's correcting that the force feat definitely took place in real life, so no, it wasn't in the VR world.
Suck it.
Okay, so Korosensei can get crushed by a press and a boulder, and we're talking about nuclear blasts over here.
What? No,
Monokuma.
Monokuma. Sorry, that's what I meant. I meant to say Monokuma. Sorry.
So but that does make me curious. Like,
Boy, thank you.
It seems a lot like Monokumas don't have the durability to really stand up to Korosensei, if that's the case.
Yeah, maybe. I want to hear a lot more about Monokuma, but before we do that, let me chime in real quick with our next sponsor.
There you go.
Because this podcast is sponsored by Chime. Look, we all know life is full of extra fees, whether you're booking a movie ticket, booking a flight, or buying tickets to a concert. The one that really gets me. It always seems like there's extra expenses that make you feel like you're always taking 2 step backs when it comes to getting ahead on your finances. Well, a Chime checking account makes the financial process easier with features like no maintenance fees, fee-free overdraft up to $200, or getting paid up to 2 days early with direct deposit. I know that I've definitely been in this situation where in the past where I spent like $1 over what was in my account, and then I was hit with an egregious overdraft fee, which I thought was frankly ridiculous. And apparently so does Chime, since they allow you to overdraft up to $200 with no fees, which I know would take the stress off of me for sure. Chime is also a financial institution that believes in community. Your friends can join and give you a boost, which temporarily increases your SpotMe limit. That's basically how Chime helps you avoid debt. Here's how it works. You can set up direct deposit with your Chime account, and after a deposit of $200 or more, Chime will notify you to enroll in their SpotMe program. Chime will even spot you up to $200 on debit card purchases and cash withdrawals. They've spotted over $30 billion in transactions so far. Make progress towards a better financial future with Chime. Open your account in 2 minutes at chime.com/death. That's chime.com/death. Chime feels like progress. Banking service and debit card provided by the Bancorp Bank North America or Stride Bank North America, members FDIC. SpotMe eligibility requirements and overdraft limits apply. Direct deposit timing depends on submission of payment file. Boosts are available to eligible Chime members enrolled in SpotMe and are subject to monthly limits. Fees apply at out-of-network ATMs and for OTC withdrawals. Thank you, Chime. We appreciate you. All right. Tell us about Monokuma. What we got going on?
Yeah, so the AI that controls at least some versions of Monokuma is based on Junko Enoshima, like her mind. And that's really important because Junko is like an extremely, insanely intelligent character. Each of the students in Danganronpa has like some ultimate ability, is what I've gathered. They're like the best at like one specific thing. And her ultimate ability is ultimate analysis, which allows her to replicate the abilities of just about anybody just by observing them and studying them. So kind of like, think like Majin Buu and Goku. Think like every Dragon Ball villain. Please correct me. I don't think she
she can mimic the abilities of other Ultimates. Yes, but she can't mimic them as perfectly as someone like Majin Buu can. She can get close.
Yeah, I'm just trying to explain to like people. I'm just using an example. I don't think she could genuinely generate magic, because then she would win, right? Because then she would
no. The thing is, like, I think the ultimate analyst talent is very impressive. Don't get me wrong. But it's I also think that it's developed something of a mythical status among the fandom. Because and it's not properly understood in how it's portrayed in the series. She can do a lot of impressive stuff with it, but it does definitely have its limits. For example, she mentioned to Ryota that she couldn't properly copy his animation techniques as the ultimate animator. She tried. She tried to create, like, he was creating these anime that were basically like brainwashing people. Long story. She tried to mimic his talent. She got close. It could like brainwash people with very weak wills. But she tells him she can't make it as well as he can, and she basically like blackmails him, forces him to make a better version of it for her because she can't do it. She also can't kill her sister Mukuro. I mean, she does eventually through like a surprise attack, but like during direct confrontation, Mukuro has her outclassed every time. She's known Mukuro for years. She's incapable of mimicking her fighting abilities. Like there are limits to what the ultimate analyst can do. In Danganronpa 0, Junko even mentions herself in a rare moment of sincerity that I'll read it right here, and I quote. Even so, this kind of statistical analysis requires a vast amount of data. Without data, I can't predict anything at all. She needs to observe people for a bit before it happens, and I don't think she's going to have enough time over the course of a brief fight with Korosensei. A lot of her best feats are done over long, unspecified periods of time. Like her ability to copy alter ego, we don't know how long that took. Her ability to take over the fashion world, we don't know how long that took. Like she's very talented, but in like a 5-minute fight,
she copied
this
alter
thing
ego?
that's weird. We have no idea.
But
you say alter
real
ego?
Quick, let's.
Alter
oh,
ego.
Hi, it's me. But let's let Liam get some stuff out about Monokuma because I feel like we need to hear more. So like,
it's okay. I don't know that much about Danganronpa, and when Tyler's talked to me about this matchup in the past and has suggested that Korosensei has a much better chance at defeating Monokuma than a lot of the community has suggested. I mean, like, this is a matchup that's been discussed a lot, and Monokuma was generally agreed upon to be the winner. So I was curious when we were talking about, like, before this episode, like yesterday, we were talking about like who should rep who, and I was like, I don't fucking know. So you whatever you want to do. But I think if you're thinking Korosensei wins, you should rep Korosensei and use it as an opportunity to like perhaps change some minds or introduce some more information. So if there are like clarifications that you want to make on stuff, like I'm happy to do that, or I'm happy to let you do that.
Yeah, I hope I'm not interrupting too much. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
No, it's all right.
No, it's all good. I just want to hear more about. I've got a good sense.
Yes.
I just want to hear more about like Monokuma and like what they're capable of.
Yeah. The flashback light and blackout lights. These are two devices that Monokuma has. The flashback light is able to implant false memories, and the blackout light is able to erase memories. Is there anything that Korosensei
like Men in Black style?
Be able to? Yeah, kind of like
yeah.
Okay. Would Korosensei be able to resist that?
The blackout light, we don't even know for sure that it exists. It shows up in a memory that is, ironically enough, fabricated. We know that memory was fake, so we don't even know if that's a real device. The flashback light, though, is a real thing. It can implant false memories. Monokuma describes it like it's flashing images at you in a way that's like, it's hard for your brain to process, and it creates like a deja vu effect, so you feel like you've gotten those memories in the past. There are a few things to consider when analyzing if this would work on Korosensei. First of all of the students who were hit with the flashback light, they were suffering from amnesia when they were hit with it. So they knew they were missing memories, and then they suddenly got new ones. So they assumed those were real. If you already had memories, though, and then you suddenly were flashed with a mysterious device and you got new ones, and they contradicted the memories you still had in your head from before the flashback light hit you, you would probably realize that you were duped in some way. Like that thing that you just remembered, that deja vu effect you just had, was probably a bunch of nonsense. So I don't even think there's a particularly good argument that it would work on Korosensei. But then there's also Korosensei's senses, which he can see very well. He can see fast-moving objects, like things that are moving significantly faster than him. He can see in like slow motion. His sight is so precise that he can see things on like a cellular level. He has put together the individual cells of a middle schooler's body, and he might even be able to see on a molecular level because he was manipulating those cells on like a lower molecular level with micro tentacles while he was doing it. Would he even see the images being projected by the flashback light and process it the same way that like a normal human would? I don't know that it would work on him. I don't think that if he had those fake memories, I don't think that he would buy them. There's so many problems.
Does this like blackout light and the flashback light, do they ever work against somebody who is like blind or has their eyes closed? Like, does it need to be their eyes intaking the light?
Yeah, seeing it is necessary.
Okay, yeah. So assumingly, yeah, like Korosensei being a literal alien might not have the same like cones and rods that this will affect in their eyeball,
he's
right?
human, Sam.
Oh,
but
he's been altered so significantly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe then.
He basically a super assassin, and then people were like, let's figure out antimatter infinite energy, and we'll use, of course, this super assassin as a test bed for that, because that won't go bad. And that's what he turned into. Well, he has another form, like pre-Koro form or whatever, where he is like a monster.
Yeah, he seems to be able to fundamentally shapeshift in dire situations, and it's a little academic. I'm not entirely sure how it works.
Yeah, it's crazy because apparently the form that he's in now, he like chose after like a friend helped him or whatever. I can't remember. It's been a long time. Couple things. Clouded Artist says, if we're getting absurd, Korosensei should be able to outspeed Psyche K in an extra chapter. I don't know that who can teleport and perform light speed feats.
Oh, yeah.
And then thank you, Varel, for the super chat. And Super Kaiju fan just wanted to say that if Monokuma is determined to win, then that implies that Springtrap is more powerful than Korosensei. What? Oh, if we determine Monokuma.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
And thank you totally.
So
unlikely that Springtrap.
What else does
win?
What else does Monokuma have that would like in the arsenal?
I don't think his arsenal is very useful against Korosensei. I've written down nearly everything the guy's ever used, and
I'm worried that if I start mentioning things, it's going to be like, actually, no, that you only had that in a dream. You fucking idiot, Liam.
I because like I understand that Koro's like kind of like is literally a MacGuffin in and of himself, right? Like he's always got an answer. Is it even he? Yeah, it is, correct?
Yeah.
Always has an answer for like everything. But is there like, does Monokuma not have any MacGuffins of their own? I guess the
Monokuma
ultimate
has executions.
Yeah, he has.
He has the executions. He does have a lot of equipment. Because the executions aren't something that I think that the place where the executions would come into play is if Korosensei did the ultimate defense form, which would leave him like essentially open to something that requires a moderate amount of prep time, like the executions. So, like the executions are like when the students lose a game or they're declared guilty or whatever. They are killed in a horrific way. Like one of them is sticking him in a rocket ship and then like sending him into space, and then it comes down and crashes down and explodes. Or this guy gets like a baseball pitching machine shoots a bunch of balls in his face. There's one where this one guy is strapped on a motorcycle and the G-forces like go so fast that he's turned into butter. People are talking like that's like a hack thing. I took it to be a kinetic energy, just like his body was liquefied. But
it's really unclear that the cage is like electrified too. So
okay.
No one knows what happened there.
Okay, I was gonna say if you can liquefy a person with G-force, that's probably pretty insane. But
that's like teratons of TNT, millions of times stronger than Korosensei. Yeah.
Well,
I'm kidding.
Well, so a couple things here on the space thing. I saw a couple people bringing this up, being like, "Well, can't Monokuma just shoot Korosensei into space?" Tyler, I don't remember if we've seen Korosensei in space.
So I do have an answer for this.
Great.
Yeah. It is Koro 18.
Perfect. We even have an image. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah, so Korosensei mentions here that in his absolute defense form, since he can't move, one of his greatest fears is, in fact, being launched into space. But I think this is taken a little bit out of context by people because his fear is very specifically he's afraid of being launched off into space in a high-speed rocket to some distant part of the universe. I don't think Monokuma's rocket can do that. It never really leaves Earth's orbit. In each execution, it goes up, stops, and then it comes and crashes back down. There's some weird stuff going on with the Danganronpa cosmology. If you could bring up Monokuma 1, something that I sent you over there.
This
Yeah,
is great.
this is the rocket used in Jin Kirigiri's execution, where he's launched into space in a rocket. That rocket stopped its thrusters right there and then fell back down. But it looks clear, like, is it next to Saturn or something?
It looks like maybe
yeah.
Saturn. Yeah.
The
That looks like
Danganronpa
Saturn.
execution scenes are not. They're dubiously canon. You can't always take what's happening at face value because this rocket clearly doesn't seem to have left Earth's orbit. The moon is not supposed to be next to Saturn. I don't know what's
Or
happening
have
here. I can
hands
suggest
or
face.
face or like.
I am thinking now that perhaps it's not Saturn. It's so far away from them that it is in a completely different solar system where there is not only a moon next to a planet, but living planets and moons. This
there
is
you go.
way more impressive.
Is it just me?
How did it?
Jesus,
How did it fall back down to the planet?
It falls a long way, but
quickly.
both this weird moon and Saturn kind of look like perverts. I don't know why, but they're looking at that rocket a little too much. I don't like that world. I just
What
decided.
do you mean they're looking at the rocket too much? This is a. Look, if you're living in an era, or in an area of the universe where every living thing is sentient, and you're seeing something come in that is not sentient, aka the rocket ship, that's kind of like you're like, oh my god, is that person in there piloting a corpse? Like, is that what's happening? I think
fair
that
argument, Liam.
there's a lot to that scene.
I didn't.
Well,
could you bring up Koro 17?
Koro 17. Bam.
Also, Liam, Korosensei eats metal, so he's just gonna eat Monokuma.
I'd like to see that. So I know that his body, traditional weapons like swords and knives and shit don't work on him. I assume because it's something has to do with like the antimatter or the is.
Yeah.
But explosions, flamethrowers, energy-based attacks would still work, right? Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify that for my own notification. I don't really see people talking about that.
I've got an interesting
invincible?
insta-kill move that Korosensei might have.
Mm-hmm.
Could you bring up Koro 13? Yeah, okay, so this is complicated. But what's happening in this scene is Korosensei is using nano tentacles that he's spawned to catch every damaged cell in this girl's body after she has been dealt a fatal blow. And then he is placing them back in the precise order. He's also affecting them on a molecular level. He is molecularly heating certain parts of the cells to make sure they don't die while this is happening. This is happening so precisely and on such a small level. Monokuma probably can't even detect it. I know this because Monokuma and the Monokubs couldn't see the Nanokumas in Danganronpa V3, which are tiny little like camera bugs that exist. This gives Korosensei a potential sneak attack where he could like slink his micro tentacles underneath Monokuma's chassis and like rip him apart from the inside and mess up his circuitry and stuff like that. It's something Monokuma wouldn't be able to detect and he wouldn't have any way to defend against. Game over.
I just like that he filled the missing cells with his mucus, which is fucking gross, gang.
Yeah, the mucus does a lot. The saliva in the mucus
yucky.
Really comes up a surprising amount.
Yeah.
But hey, real quick, I need to tell you about our last sponsor. I had a segue and then it went on too far. But
I heard you try to do it.
I did try. I sure did. It's boot.dev. This episode is sponsored by boot.dev. Boot.dev is the smartest way to learn code because they're tackling the hardest problem that we all have with online learning, and that's boredom. You know what I mean? There's so much online to distract you from actually learning what you need to do. So it's hard to get the most out of your lessons, and you can't learn to code without actually writing a lot of code and building real projects. It might sound obvious, but you'd be surprised how many people try to learn but never get around to the actual doing part. Boot.dev gives all sorts of learning tools with amazing opportunities, including both an AI powered assistant and tons of actual human helpers for whenever you get stuck. Earn XP, level achievements, and complete quests as you move through your lessons and rise up the leaderboard. I know gamification definitely helps me learn. But they want to be clear. Programming and coding have amazing earning potential, but they're not here to help you get rich, like a get rich quick scheme, because that's not what this career is. Boot.dev's curriculum takes time and goes properly in depth on both the theory and practice of the craft. Plus, they never want a student to feel like they aren't getting their money's worth, so they offer a 20-day, no questions asked refund policy and a free demo of every course and its interactive features. So, if you're at all interested in learning, this is a great way to get going. Go to boot.dev and use our code DeathBattleCast to get 25% off your entire first year if you choose the annual plan. So again, use the code DeathBattleCast to get 25% off your entire first year if you choose the annual plan. Thank you, boot.dev. Woo!
Very smart.
All
Makes
right.
learning in a game. Good
Sorry,
stuff.
was I the one who interrupted that segue?
No, you're fine.
Oh no, don't worry about it. Don't
The
worry about
segues
it.
are-
This happens all the time, Tyler. I try and like go for a segue and I don't even know who it was. Don't worry about it. It's not something to feel bad about.
I feel bad because I feel like I've been taking up all the air. Have I?
Yeah,
been,
well,
like, just
you're
talking?
the
No, dude,
expert
you're
here
good.
to
You know-
talk about it all.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
by design.
That's my goal. My hope with this was that I would be able to know enough to like introduce topics, and then get you to sort of explain.
Yeah, you
more of this
definitely know
stuff.
the most about these characters here. So
Data
definitely by
large
design.
super chat says Danganronpa is just a game show. I'm so sorry. That's gonna haunt you.
You know, I feel totally vindicated from that because I won. I
Yeah,
won
that's
that
true. You
encounter.
did.
I
You
won
did.
the moral victory, and I won the literal. My only mistake was not literally writing in talk about how dumb suggesting that Fall Guys is a game show is as Boomstick into the script. I actually am mad about that. I forgot about that and have not fully let
We'll
it
have
go
to retcon the episode later. Just add in.
Yeah, we'll pull it down.
Yeah, I mean, if we could like re-upload, I don't know, it would be great.
We'll make the Liam cut of the episode.
There was an episode, Tyler, where they all gaslit me for about an hour, and
I
got
saw it,
really
yeah.
mad. Oh, great! Yeah, then you know.
The Gremlin with a very large super chat just said, "Watch Liam bring up Monokuma's iconic defeat Korosensei inator, only to get hit with Koro 1,900,000 whatever, which completely negates everything the defeat Korosensei inator could do, and also solves world hunger or something." Sure. Thank you.
I'm
Gremlin.
okay with that. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was going to
So-
get to that, but I was going to get to the anti-Korosensei inator, but unfortunately.
All right, so I mean, microtentacles, big thing. I think. How fast is Monokuma? Do we know?
Yeah,
Does
let's talk about
Monokuma-
speed.
Sure.
So, that was a big argument in favor of Monokuma that I've seen, is that he's a lot faster because of the Mach 20,
Really?
how like consistent that is. And characters in Danganronpa have dodged like EM waves, which are light speed. There's one instance, there's a cutscene where like character pulls up a gun. It's actually the most like direct light speed dodging feat ever, because he pulls it up, shoots like a beam of light, and then the character like moves literally simultaneously and dodges out of the way. And I think it comes out to 1.07 times the speed of light. So it's like, yes, that's light speed. Compared to Mach 20, that would be a shitload faster. But Tyler, I have a feeling, based on what you said earlier, that you have some better feats for Korosensei speed.
Well, first of all, I do think I've always favored the 0.8 times speed of light calculation for that particular scaling to Kamaru. But it's fine. 1.2 or 1.3 that works too. But we can get crazy if we want to. First of all, I think it's probably worth mentioning Monokuma's. Okay, I usually don't make a distinction between like reaction speed and travel speed. This is because if you're going to travel somewhere, you need to be able to react to it. Like if you're going to like fly to a planet, you need to know when to be able to stop.
I've said this for years. I
Yeah.
completely agree.
Right.
But it doesn't necessarily work in the inverse. There are many examples, even in real life, of things that can react faster than they can travel. Like you'll see turtles that can snap really fast. They clearly can't, So one of the things worth mentioning here is Monokuma's best feats are his best speed feats are really close up, like reaction, like moving in short bursts in small directions. When it comes to moving long distances, he's just outclassed by Korosensei. There's no way of catching up with him. But if we must discuss like who moves faster, like in close quarters, Korosensei does have some stuff to compete. Let's see where is it? Yeah, bring up Koro 4.
Is this the? Oh no, different one.
Yep. Okay. So this scene is from the anime. What happens here is that guy right there on the far left, I think. Yeah, far left. He's a bad guy. That beam he's launching from his eye, that light beam, is supposed to paralyze Korosensei when it hits him. It reacts with his biology in a weird way. So Korosensei takes his arm, digs it into the dirt, and kicks dirt up, blocking the light beam before it hits him. And that prevents it from hitting him and paralyzing him. This can get to levels. I tried calculating this myself. It basically matches Monokuma's close quarters speed feats, but we can get even crazier if we want to. For example, right after this, like in the next frame, Korosensei's gone. Like the frame after this, he leaves so fast that he's gone in a frame. If we like scale that to the rest of how quickly the dirt must have been moving to block the light, he's flying so much faster than light. And based on what I just said earlier about how you have to be able to react as fast as you can travel, he could also theoretically react that fast. This would eclipse everything Monokuma has been shown doing.
Yeah. For Senator Armstrong and anyone else that was wondering, that bottom left panel is of his tentacle. So,
yeah,
not
you sick
his
freaks.
Other things.
Tentacle.
That doesn't even look like. What is it? It would have to be disembodied for it to look like that.
It's just very long.
You just lopped it off.
I always hate these kind of things, like especially speed of light stuff, just because it's like, well, that dirt wouldn't be dirt anymore if it was accelerated to, like, it's just one of those things. But I do.
Yeah, well,
totally
he also.
Well, Monokuma also, like, he runs on electrical impulses. He shouldn't be able to move that fast, but we do what we will, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, he also dodged. They have an anti-Korosensei laser because, of course, like, and it's so stupid. It's literally like a laser fires from space. It's like, and it passes through the school building without damaging anything and hits everyone without hurting anyone except for Korosensei. And he realizes he has spider sense, by the way. He knows if anything's like targeting him and is about to hurt him.
Yeah.
So he like oh god, like giant laser, and like they state like how did he dodge it? Like it hits like a couple of his tentacles, but then he's fine. Like he regenerates them. And it's like they state that it's light speed, and that it like it was impossible. How did he dodge it? And he still dodged it. So like,
Korosensei, that specifically, I think is better. It's better explained as an intuition feat. Like it's explained that like he dodged it because he somehow sensed something was off and knew to leave. That's insane. And I think that's actually better suited. That's more useful in this debate than trying to actually scale that to light speed, because we have other light speed stuff.
Did he sense something was wrong before the laser was fired?
It's unclear.
Yeah, because that's how I would.
A million times, like somebody's like aiming at him with something, and he does the little like spider sense thing, basically, you know, and he's like, like he was regenerating his heart at one point because his heart got destroyed, and then a sniper was gonna shoot him in the head, and he just like while regenerating his like heart, he just straight dodges like sniper fire. It's like he just knows.
But if he knew 2 seconds before they fired the laser, like that takes it out of the light speed realm. Is just all I was curious about.
I think we have other better arguments for Korosensei moving at light speed. I think this is better suited as he was in a classroom by himself, no one around. There was no reason to suspect he was being targeted, and he just knew to get out of there. I think that's a much more useful thing in a fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
it's crazy.
He can perceive ill.
Frostlet says, I'm still not entirely sure Koro could get through the entire Monokuma army. That's interesting. So that is a lot of Monokumas, but I know what Tyler's going to bring up. I won't say. Go ahead, tell him. You can tell.
No. Did you wanted to say something? You can go ahead, please.
No. Well, I was gonna say. I mean, Korosensei can like clone himself, and we don't even know how many. I mean, if we're gonna do like, there will be a part of this fight if we were like doing this that we would be like a bunch of Monokumas fighting a bunch of Korosensei clones would be fun.
Well,
right?
okay, so the Monokuma army, as they call it, it varies. Again, this is where the type of Monokuma you use matters. In Danganronpa V3, Monokumas are created by Mother Kuma, a sort of central unit at the center of the school, has to be activated by a code word said by the mastermind. If the mastermind it would be non-standard for the battle to start with more than one Monokuma. If the mastermind started like mass producing these and trying to send them all after Korosensei, he would probably figure out where they were coming from and destroy the machine before they got anywhere near formidable numbers. The Monokuma army in Trigger Happy Havoc is just, they're all remote controlled units controlled by Junko. She has scattered an unknown number of Monokuma bots throughout the school, and when one is damaged or destroyed, she switches to another. We don't really know how many she has in the school, but she can't control more than about 100 at once, as specified in Danganronpa If, which is still impressive. It's impressive that you can control 100 at once, but like, the Monokuma army is 100. Like that's the number that Korosensei has to get through, and they all deactivate the moment he takes out the mastermind. So he really only realistically needs to take out like 2, 3 before he finds Junko and just knocks her out. And then in Ultra Despair Girls, there are 2 Monokumas, kind of, Kurokuma and Shirokuma, who are AIs. They don't have any way of backing themselves up. When they're destroyed, they're just destroyed. That's it. They do have a bunch of lesser, weaker offshoot Monokumas that like sort of kind of work with them, but those are controlled by a controller, which is just you break the controller, break the controller. Everyone who heard me say that knows exactly what I'm getting at. Break the controller, and then the Monokumas all die. Problem solved. None of these armies, there's no scenario where Korosensei is going to be attacked by 10,000 versions of the strong primary Monokuma unit. That's just not going to happen.
Got you. All right. Well, we're at time. I got to get this poll going. But as I put this poll up, any other information that you guys want to get out there?
There's one more thing.
Yeah, go ahead. Was this the Liam feat that you wanted to talk about?
No, I believe that was the
pooping.
Oh, the poop thing?
The pooping, yeah.
The last thing I want to talk about was the Big Bang Monokuma, which is a giant, like, mech Monokuma that needs to be piloted, I believe, but is controlled by AI by Shirokuma, I think. There's a debate in the community about whether or not it scales directly to Monokuma, like the base Monokuma, via Genocider Jill, right? Tyler said that there would be a long discussion, so maybe we can talk about it in the post show. But at the very least, regardless of whether it scales to the base Monokuma forms, it still exists. It scales to itself. And conceivably either Monokuma could control it, like could pilot it inside of it, or Shirokuma could control it via an AI. And it has a really impressive feat where when its head, it detaches and sort of flies up into the air, it blows away a shitload of clouds. The calc on that could vary. I didn't make this a big priority after you equals MC squared feet, because the amount that it blows away those clouds is about 2.3 megatons. But I've been told furiously by the chat that I'm looking at, the Death Battle Discord, that there is like a much higher end version of the calc, an ultra high end that gets up to like almost 300 megatons. I'm somewhat, when I hear ultra high end, I sort of skeptical. Depends on the size of the Monokuma or the Big Bang Monokuma. But conceivably, if it was that powerful, that would be more than the 48. Would that be? Would Korosensei have a way of destroying it?
Well,
if it was that strong?
There are a couple problems. First of all, it's not really. So it's not even really a antagonistic Monokuma by default. It is owned by the Toa Corps, who who keeps it locked down until it's eventually opened up in an attempt to destroy the lesser Monokuma units. So it's being used by the good guys at first. It is taken over by the bad guys in mid-fight, which means it's questionable whether this would even be given to Monokuma in a straight fight. Even if it was, the problem then becomes it has to be piloted, and Korosensei would probably figure that out pretty easily, and he'd like, he'd run up the arm or something. He'd like break in through the eye, and he'd like kill Shirokuma, who's hooked up to the mechanism or something. In fact, heck, if he got in control of Big Bang Monokuma himself, he could just go to town with it. He has a super genius intellect. I believe he could figure out how to pilot it. And but as to just like, could he fight it if it had this ultra high end? Yeah, maybe, because I have ultra high end calculations for Korosensei too. I didn't bring them up because it was like, well, I didn't want to like beat a dead horse, but like I can go higher if I need to.
beat the dead horse.
All right, final, because we gotta wrap this up. So what's like anything else you want to get out there? Like final statement on Korosensei.
I really like this fight. I think these characters are a brilliant contrast with each other. They're all about like their wacky abilities and how they play off of each other. There's even like great interaction in the fact that Monokuma loves causing despair, and Korosensei is explicitly like supercharged by murderous intent. The more irritated he gets, the more competent he becomes, which is inverse to how most people act. You could have a really interesting fight dynamic where Monokuma is like trying to tick him off, and it is unintentionally making him more powerful. I just think there's a lot you could do with these guys. I really like it. I think Korosensei wins. I think there are arguments for Monokuma winning, but every time you try to do a thing like you take something from Monokuma that looks a little stylistic or that looks a little extreme, a counter exists for that on Korosensei's end that is also a little stylistic or a little extreme. You can do it either way. I just think that Monokuma has breached the cultural zeitgeist, so his are more well known, whereas Korosensei's best or more obscure feats, not many people are parading them around, and in some cases, they just aren't available. Like the energy feat that I calculated, everywhere I looked, no one could tell me how powerful these energy beams were. No one had a calculation for it. It's just a more obscure piece of art compared to Danganronpa.
Yeah, well, especially like, when your brain's broken like us for doing Death Battle, whenever we watch something, we're always thinking about that, right? Like, so, I mean, I know when we were watching Assassination Classroom, that's why like I got really into Korosensei and I wanted to do a fight because all the time I'm thinking like, oh my god, that means like that he's like ridiculously powerful and it's crazy. So anyway, all right, well, let me.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's like a G1 blog specifically on this, and they always go into like a lot of. I know somebody mentioned. I've seen it mentioned in the chat a bunch of times, and they go into a lot of detail. But other than a few things, it does seem a lot like for a show that's about like look how strong I am and what I can do, a little underanalyzed compared to just like other media that's out there. Like you can look at I don't know anything Marvel, DC, and it's like you can find a lot of calculations and a lot of discussion about it, but for some reason Assassination Classroom just isn't like that popular in that way.
Yeah. All right, cool. So we ended up the poll, and it is Korosensei by 72%. So Tyler, great job. What? Yeah, that's crazy, right? Who could have seen that coming?
I thought I had it.
Liam, I think you did a great job. I think you did a great job for what it's worth.
It does seem like a really fun matchup, and I mean there was a reason why it was on Tournament of Champions last year, maybe.
Yeah.
Time's weird.
I'd really like to see this one. I really would.
Yeah, so we got some more to talk about the post show for sure. But Tyler, thank you so much for coming back on the show. And really quickly, shill your stuff. Where can they find you? Do you have anything you want to talk about that's coming up, or you don't have to? But just
I run a YouTube channel called The Imaginary Axis where we analyze fiction. We don't really do it. It's not usually death battles, but like we will analyze a character within the context of their own narrative, what they should be capable of doing. We'll like sometimes look into theories about what their true intentions might be or something like that. Sometimes we get into philosophy. It's really just education with a pop culture tint to it, and I really love doing it. There are personal reasons that I've been sort of spotty lately. I can't get into a lot of it, but it is something I'm very passionate about, and I don't plan on abandoning the channel or anything like that. I'll be back soon enough. So you should check out my socials. I'm Tyler at the Axis, and also the Imaginary Axis on YouTube. And we'll definitely be back with some more engaging content soon.
Perfect.
YouTube links in the description.
Drop a link.
to
your YouTube channel. Yeah, there'll be one in the description if you're watching the VOD, but for right now, if you're watching, there's Tyler's channel. Go subscribe.
Cool.
All right.
All right.
Thanks. Thank you so much. As always, thanks for watching, everybody. We got the post show coming up. I'm trying to think if we have anything to tell you guys about. We'll be at MagFest. That's been announced, which is in Maryland. So National Harbor, Maryland, at the Gaylord Resort. So come check us out.
January 26th weekend.
Fucking can't wait.
Yeah, I'm so excited. MagFest is one of my absolute favorite conventions of all time, and we got some fun stuff planned for y'all.
Yep.
So that's coming up. More information on conventions coming soon. I think that's about it for things that I have to tell you.
Happy New Year. That one.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
New Year.
Happy New
Thanks,
Year.
y'all.
Bye. Bye.